Welcome to Collider Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Natasha Martinez, and this is the daily show where we give you all the latest news in the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. Kicking off our panel today is Perri Nemiroff.
Hey guys, very glad to be back in the captain's chair right here. The Bangs are out of commission today, but I am still standing. We have a great lineup for you and a great panel too, Natasha, who's joining me.
Joining us on our panel, Jon Schnepp.
How many writers does it take to write a movie? We'll find out soon.
Also joining us, Mark Reilly.
I cannot wait to see what word we create today that would become part of the Collider video lexicon.
Yes.
Let's do this.
Yes.
And also joining us, Kristian Harloff. I can't with you.
Yep.
Oh boy, yeah, that's how today is gonna go. Yet again, I have someone super supportive to my right who won't make me laugh half the show. That's not gonna happen. All right,
That's
before
Kristian's
anything bad
job.
happens, let's get into our first story.
Okay, THR has learned that WB and DC Films are courting Mel Gibson to direct Suicide Squad 2. Though the report comes as a surprise, both sides are just in early talks and no offer has been made. THR's sources say that Gibson is currently familiarizing himself with the material, but the studio is not being passive at all. Variety also reports that in addition to Gibson, Warner's has met with or is planning to meet with Zombieland director Ruben Fleischer, Daniel Espinosa, director of the upcoming Life, and Warm Bodies director Jonathan Levine. Perri, what do you think about Suicide Squad 2 being possibly directed by Mel Gibson?
That was your cue. Given that mortifying image behind me, it's kind of creeping me out right now. I don't know if this is a bad idea. I'm kind of open to it. I really did like Hacksaw Ridge, so I kind of want to give him the credit he's earned from that movie. And then there's the issue of, depending on who gets hired for this, I am a little concerned that the higher-ups at Warner Brothers in DC might have a little too much control. And I look at Mel Gibson and I see a director who does what he believes in and what he wants to do and won't get pushed around. He is a talented filmmaker, pushing everything else we know and we've heard and we've talked about aside. He's a talented filmmaker, and he's someone who I think will stick to his guns if he gets this job. However, if he doesn't wind up going with this, Ruben Fleischer is not a bad idea, and Daniel Espinosa, I really liked Safe House. Life is looking great. And Jonathan Levine. Jonathan Levine is excellent, and at this point, he might deserve an opportunity like this. So this isn't a bad crop of people here. Schnepp, what do you think?
I would go with Ruben Fleischer over any of these people, including Mel Gibson. And, you know, if you're going to give Mel Gibson props for doing another amazing film, like my favorite of his is Apocalypto, maybe he's out of director's jail. Let him make a movie that he wants to make. Don't throw him a giant blockbuster, which he has no idea what they are. He doesn't read comics. He's not a comic book fan. It's sort of, I just feel like, well, do what you did with that war stuff and put that into Suicide Squad. I just see it just sucking. And it has nothing to do with Mel Gibson's talent, because I think he's super talented. I just think it's a horrible fit.
Oh, no. Riley? A little more hopeful? No?
I really don't know what to think about this news. I don't. I like your point, though. Warner Brothers, if they want Mel Gibson, they need to leave him alone if this movie is going to have any success. And I just don't know, based on everything we know, that they can do that.
It's not possible.
Yeah, and Mel Gibson is the type of director now that he needs that freedom. If he gets that freedom, you get a Hacksaw Ridge, you get a Braveheart, you get an Apocalypto. So, but if you Warner Brothers is pushing. Look at what he did with David Ayer, and they recut the entire movie with a trailer company, and look what we got. So, I can't help but say I'd be very interested if Mel Gibson got the job. But if you want somebody maybe to work with the studio, I like Fleischer as well, Schnepp. But this is a very hard thing to talk about. I don't know how I feel about this because I'm not a fan of the original, so it's weird to think what we're going to get out of the gate with this one.
All right, so Kristian, they also tweeted, Justin Kroll had tweeted after this original story came out, first, if Mel wants it, it's his. So whether or not you think he would do a good job, do you think he'd actually take it?
I think it's certainly possible that he would take it. Here's the funny thing, though. I couldn't disagree more with both you guys. As far as the David Ayer thing goes, I like David Ayer. he doesn't have the gravitas Mel Gibson does. You don't look at that picture alone. You get Mel Gibson. You want to stay away from him and let him do his own thing because you don't know what he's going to say to you if you tell him, "Hey, do this." No. All right, fine. But it's. I agree with Schnepp as where we don't know how much he loves comic movies because remember, this is the guy who said Batman v Superman sucks, and he also said he said a couple other things about comic movies. But there are some people out there that say, "Hey, it does suck." And the fact that he went out there and the fact that they said that they would get a guy that said, well, okay, if you think it sucks, well, what would you do with it? We respect your directing. What can you take? Where can you go with it? Now, the thing with Mel Gibson, though, is that Mel Gibson is a director. Now, the first thing we need to do and get everything out of the way is because no matter what, Mel Gibson is always going to be marred with this thing and the despicable things that he said in the past and that he's done. There's no getting away from it. It's always going to be brought up. Scott Mantz, when we had him on the show, he said the same thing. It's just like sometimes you got to separate the art from the artist, and that's what I want to do in this particular thing because his directing has been outstanding. Even the man with two faces, like everything that he's done, everything he's done so far, and Hacksaw Ridge was great. What he has done in all of his movies. The amount of research that goes into all of his films about and the things that he does and the amount of effort, he's not going to take on Suicide Squad and then just make some half-ass thing. The movie's going to be awesome. Now, whether or not it contradicts some hardcore sweaties, if you will, and you say, if you watch the movie and go, that's an awesome movie, but it had nothing to do with Suicide Squad, that's certainly possible. But I want to see what Mel Gibson's version looks like. I think that he is the guy. It's very similar to Nolan. Even Nolan did not have the gravitas back then. It's similar to where Warner Brothers is going to hire him and go, let's see what he does. Because you're not going to bully Mel Gibson. It's just not going to happen.
Let me argue you on that because David Ayers got bullied out of the editing room. They had multiple edits going on. He got super bullied. And I don't think anybody in the superhero Warner Brothers camp right now is not going to not get bullied. Look at Ben Affleck. He's like, I'm out. I think every single person is getting micromanaged by too many producers, and we know how television shows and movies go anyway. There's 100 people giving you notes that they don't know what they're doing, and imagine Mel Gibson. You're right. Imagine him just blowing his top because they give him the job. They're like, we want you. We want your directing skill. The man is an incredible director. I don't care what if you separate his idiocy as a human being and has stupidity and a moronic statements that he is as a human versus the kinds of things that he could put on screen, which is why I still love Apocalypto, even though he himself is a jerk in real life. I could separate that and be like, because in 100 years it won't matter. He'll be dead, and someone will still be watching Apocalypto and saying, that's a cool movie. Right. Are they going to say that about Suicide Squad 2? It doesn't matter if he directs it. I got to be honest, because he's not going to get to do what he wants to do.
I don't agree.
I don't think he would ever sign on the dotted line without it. And, someone like David Ayer, he had a great track record. He's still not Ben Affleck or Mel Gibson. When David Ayer signs a contract to direct a movie for a big studio like this with a massive budget, I assume there are some sort of caveats for him where it's like, you can't do this unless X, Y, and Z approve it. Whereas if Mel Gibson goes through with this, I feel like it's going to be Warner Brothers and the studio execs giving up some of their creative control to let him get in on this.
Well, then
he's only
I'll
going
say
to do it
this
a certain way.
on camera. Mel Gibson better get final cut. Period.
Right.
Nothing less.
Right.
So you know what? Maybe Mel Gibson signing on could be the best thing for a Suicide
Squad
for this specific reason.
If I read somewhere in the trades that's official that he gets final cut, then I'm 100% on board. Yeah. Up until that, screw it.
And maybe this is Warner Brothers trying to right the ship by getting Mel Gibson to come on and going, great, here are the keys.
You know what it also does, though, too, guys, is the fact that by putting in someone like Mel Gibson, everybody's talking about it. So people are going to talk about Suicide Squad anyway, but you're going to talk about it even more so if he's rumored for it and then if he gets it. I agree with you. He's got to get final cut, but I think that it's just that because we're in a place right now because Warner Brothers movies have been, the DC movies have been a little shoddy. So we're all going to be like, everybody's going to get bullied. But we can't have that mentality that we think that's always going to happen to the directors because even you look at what Joel Schumacher with Batman, they made him sell toys, and they ruined Batman franchise. And then Nolan came in going, I need to do it my way. I need to do it this way. If they do that with Gibson, then it's possible. I agree with you. If they try to bully him, I just think he's not the guy you hire if you want to bully someone.
No.
Fleischer, they might be able to do that and tell him what they want to do.
Right.
So I'm all for Gibson if he's going to do it.
I want the idealized version that you're talking about to happen. It just does. I feel that it does. It's highly skeptical, especially within the framework of what they've already established.
I am curious to see what happens with this. I hope we do get an answer in the very near future, and I hope it's
Give me back my son.
Well, maybe just like that. And I hope it's an answer that sticks, because we're sitting here and we're talking about it right now, and we're either getting hyped about it for one reason or another, and then look what happens with some of their directors. I don't want to put the cart before the horse in this situation. Also, start picturing a Suicide Squad 2 and then lose him as a director.
Right.
So if they do hire Mel Gibson, please just stick with him and make a good movie. Let him do his thing. Come on. All right, Natasha, what's our second story?
XYZ Films posted a video to Twitter in which actor Frank Grillo and director Joe Carnahan announced work on a remake of The Raid. Based on 2011's Indonesian action series directed by Gareth Evans, the original was released in America entitled The Raid Redemption. Shortly after the video posted, Carnahan took to Twitter to clarify that he is directing and producing the project, also revealing that Evans has given his full blessing and is also on board as a producer. A release date has not been set. Kristian, thoughts on a remake of The Raid directed by Joe Carnahan?
It's so funny, man, because when they announced they were going to do this a while ago with nobody attached and they were going to make a remake, I said, you don't need to. 1 and 2 are so fresh. You don't need to do remakes. You tell me Carnahan's going to do it, and then you tell me that Evans is coming on as a producer, and I start to nod my head and say, okay, I'm interested in seeing it. I don't necessarily think it needs to be done. I don't think it needs to happen, because the second one I even think is better than the first one. There's some of the best action movies made that have ever been
Hammer
made.
Girl and Baseball Bat Boy.
Dude, those movies are so good.
So
if you've never
good.
seen The Raid 1 and 2. And then, Frank Grillo, I think.
Frank Grillo,
so it's going to be a fun action film. I just don't think it is necessary. But when you tell me this is the team and the fact that Evans is coming on board to produce, if Evans wasn't involved in it and just like, I give him my blessing, then I'd be even a little more skeptical. But I'm curious to see it. I don't think it's needed, but I'm curious.
I like Joe Carnahan. I like Frank Grillo. I am sick to death of this conversation. New movies being remade for no reason, and then having these kinds of conversations about it. So after the news broke, Carnahan took to Twitter and said stuff like, it's not a remake, it's a reimagining of the same scenario. Everybody take a deep breath. We won't disappoint you, rabid fanboy from hell. I mean, you know why we're having this conversation? Because people love the original movies. They're still fresh in their mind. They deserve the chance to live and breathe out there without a new version of them being made from an American studio that's just going to throw money at it and overshadow what already exists. Whereas they can say, all right, The Raid inspires me. I want to make a movie like that with Frank Grillo.
Like Dread, they did that too.
But do it my own way and don't call it The Raid. That's the answer to this. And if this story had been Joe Carnahan teams up with Frank Grillo to make an action movie, and even if the quote was, because I don't like when people compare, like, this movie is this meets this, but even if there was a quote in an article that said, kind of along the lines of The Raid, I'd be like, whoa, this is a package I want to see. And, now not so much. The fact that they are remaking The Raid, reimagining The Raid, I don't care what you want to call it, does put a little bit of a damper on it. Schnepp, do you have hopes in this?
I agree with both of you, but unfortunately, we're in the minority. Most of the viewers out there, I'm hoping half the viewers. I hope a lot of you viewers out there actually do watch foreign films and don't mind subtitles, because if you don't mind subtitles, you're opening a brand new world of awesomeness of the rest of cinema that exists outside of America, like The Raid. And that's the kind of thing you're missing out when you don't see the second Raid and you just hear us talking about it. I can't tell you how many countless people have tweeted me, my God, I finally saw The Raid, because I'm always talking about, check out The Raid, and then the one that's better is The Raid 2, Barandal, or whatever it's called, with Hammer Girl and Baseball Bat Guy. That's the tip of the iceberg. We're not even talking about how the car chase sequence that has never been beaten before in cinematic history. The kinds of action scenes in both of those films are unparalleled. You'll hear why people have that disappointment with Dread, because it was like The Raid, but it didn't have that kind of action. Well, it was a different movie, and they were written at the same time. They just happen to have the same plot. Well, this is an exact remake, and I feel like Joe Carnahan is such a talented director. It's wasting his talent to redo something that was already done incredibly well, like at its A game. It's like, so you're going to change up the shots and add an American dude, and they're still doing exactly the same thing. They're going up the floors of a building. Yawn fest. I want to see Joe Carnahan do some brand new stuff. That's what's exciting to me. Even Bad Boys for Life is like, that's some new stuff. I'm excited to see him do this. This is like a waste of his talent. I personally feel, look, I'll go see the movie because I like everything he's done. I like Stretch. I like all of the things he's done. I'm on his side. I just feel like, this is definitely a grab for cash, and sometimes these things happen. Let the right one in. Reeves did let her in, or what was his?
Let me in.
Let Me In, which I still like the original better. And I am that crybaby fanboy who's like, don't remake the movie, especially it came out last fucking year. So that's me.
Reilly, to remake The Raid or not?
No, don't remake it. I agree with you, Schnepp. I think it's pointless. I think it's a waste of time. We have the movie. We have two great movies that you can go see now that are brand new, fairly brand new. I want exactly what you said. The Gray is one of my
Incredible movie.
favorite Carnahan movies. So if you were to say, to jump off what you said, Perri, if you get an announcement that says Carnahan is directing Grillo, produced by Evans, I would be like, great, let's do this. But now it's The Raid. Okay, so we're going to open it up to American audiences. I just don't see it adding anything new. Period.
Devil's advocate is because Evans is involved again, and because he says it's a retelling, I will again disagree with you guys to where I think to say that you're not going to see anything new, I think is
no. I didn't say you're not going to see anything new, and I don't think Evans is going to be on set. He's a paid producer.
Maybe
he's getting a paycheck.
I don't know because
he's probably off doing Raid 3 somewhere else. I
bet you Carnahan would want to get his input on it, and I think and maybe I'm just being optimistic, but I don't agree that you're not going to see anything new. I think that you will. I don't think you can do this movie and not do something new.
I'm not saying that though. I think Dread and The Raid are totally two different movies with the same exact plot line. Joe Carnahan is enough of a creative where he's gonna add so many new elements to this newer version of The Raid.
Right.
I'm just saying that the older version of The Raid is like, what is it, 8 years old?
It's
maybe?
not that old
it's
at
not
all.
Even that
no,
old.
I'm not disagreeing with you there. I don't think that necessarily they should have gone and done this thing. I'm curious to see if Evans is involved, because I want to see him do more. I want to see him be involved more, and then have to see him on the red carpet with Carnahan talking about how they kind of wanted to go on a different mythology this particular way and add new things that he wasn't able to do the first time around and be able to do it in an Americanized way. Type of stuff.
If they went that route and they were like, things I couldn't do when I did the first Raid, we came up with this brand new sequence that wasn't done before, you might have me back on board. At this point, no.
I don't disagree with you. Yeah.
One of his other tweets, he said, so ask yourselves, why would we be doing it unless we had something really special? I believe him when he says that. So when you say cash grab, I think that might be true from a studio perspective.
Not from his point, right.
I really do believe in him as a creative filmmaker, and I think that he is telling the truth there, and he has a good idea. And fortunately, I think Steve Weintraub has both him and Frank Grillo coming into the studio soon. So we're going to have more information on this movie. So I have very high hopes that when we get a more in-depth discussion on this, we're going to hear some things that pique our interest in a way that does not make this remake seem like every other remake out there.
Hope so.
All right, so now it is time for opening this week. Natasha, what do we got today?
A cure for wellness. An ambitious young executive is sent to retrieve his company's CEO from an idyllic but mysterious wellness center at a remote location in the Swiss Alps, but soon suspects that the spa's miraculous treatments are not what they seem.
All right, I've already seen this, so what do you guys think at this point? Are you intrigued by what you've seen so far?
Shutter Island Part 2 is what it feels like, but you know what? I mean, the trailers look creepy and weird. It definitely has that Verbinski kind of flavor to it. I'm going to see it. It just looks definitely weird, and I'm all into the weird part. So
hold on to the word weird,
Oh, wow,
because
okay.
if you can't handle weird, this might not be for you. Do you want to check it out?
Yeah, I definitely want to check it out. I like Verbinski, and I like Dane DeHaan, and I like this creepy, weird crap. So, I mean, I definitely want to check it out. I did get a Shutter Island vibe out of it, but because of everyone involved, I'm probably going to see it this weekend. Yeah.
Shutter Island is not a bad comparison at all for obvious reasons, but he does something very unusual and unique in this movie. If you've watched the trailers, what they cover in the promo material is only a small part of what happens. It does take a few twists and turns that you will never see coming.
Wow.
And I'm not going to say that he executes those very well, but it's a very admirable attempt. And it never dips below the line of making the movie not worth seeing. And Dane DeHaan is excellent. And so is, what's her name? Mia Goth, who's popping up all over the place right now. There's just something about her on-screen presence that I think makes her something special. Reilly, you want to see it?
Yeah, I'm going to see this because this is The Ring is one of my, not my favorite horror movies or in the genre, but it is one of those movies that has stuck with me all these years now. So I love that Gore Verbinski is going back to that because that's what put him on the map. The Ring put him on the map, and then he goes off and makes all the Pirates of the Caribbean. So it's nice to see him go back to like a smaller scale and getting all weird. And that's what I like. You all said it. I want the weirdness. I love the trailers. So this is an insta buy for me.
Yeah, he definitely did what he wanted with this movie, and I think that's a primary reason why it works. And I'm not quite sure when it drops, but Clark Wolf had Gore Verbinski in studio, and we have a whole chat about the movie with him. That'll be up probably sometime soon, I imagine. So yeah, that's that. Cure for Wellness. Now we're going to move on to buy or sell, talk about some stories, and then say whether we buy or sell them. Natasha, what have we got first?
Production is now underway on the J.A. Bayona-directed sequel to Jurassic World, thanks to a Twitter announcement by producer Frank Marshall. Now, thanks to the super sleuths over at the fan site Jurassic Outpost via a report from MovieWeb, it appears Universal Pictures has registered some new website domains that could give us an idea of the plot for the movie. The studio addresses registered include Isla Nubar, RescueMission.com, AllCreaturesHaveRights.com, and AllCreaturesHaveRights.org. The Jurassic World sequel will see the return of Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard and is set to hit theaters on June 22nd, 2018. Reilly, buy or sell these domains and possible plot details for Jurassic World 2?
I'm going to buy it tentatively because I can't help but be intrigued by this plot. If this is the plot, it makes a lot of sense if you think about what Colin Trevorrow said about the development of this. He said the dinosaurs will be a parable of the treatment of animals received today. So it makes a lot of sense if you think the park in Jurassic World was basically shut down because of everything that happened, and so all these dinosaurs are now running around. So we have probably shadow government wanting to weaponize them. We have other people that want to save them. So that's an interesting dynamic. But then it all goes to then, okay, you're going to stick some more people on the island, and then here we go again. So I love the element of these treatment of animals, and I can already see the viral campaign happening with these domains. You're going to have these websites that are going to document the dinosaurs and save them, possibly. So I like that element of it, but it just seems then, we're going to get somebody to go to the island to save them, and then, same shit, different day. So, I love the franchise so much. I had a hell of a time with Jurassic World. I had so much fun with it. So I'm easy when it comes to giant monster movies that eat people. I love that kind of stuff. So it's a buy for me, but I hope we get something very, very different. This is on the right track for me.
That's like the perfect way to describe yourself. Job well done.
Thank you.
Kristian, what do you think?
I'm still buying the movie, but I'm going to sell this premise because of exactly what Reilly was saying. I just feel like, oh man, they get trapped on the island, and now they got to avoid the dinosaurs again. I've seen it every single time. I was so excited with the idea that this is essentially going to be Planet of the Apes with dinosaurs. The fact that we did the stupid thing by bringing dinosaurs back again when it wasn't our call to make, and now they're going to be taking over the planet, and we've got this whole different world of how the Chris Pratts and Bryce Dallas Howard and all these people have to survive now in the world where the dinosaurs rule the world again. That is the type of world I wanted to see, that I thought they were leading up to in order to do that. Sticking them in an island, and I don't know, that's not guaranteed. We might still go into a different direction here, but if it is going that way, save all the dinosaurs and do all that stuff. It's like, save yourselves, because the dinosaurs are going to eat your ass. That's kind of what that's what I'm talking about. That's what I want to see. You got to switch it. Right. I've seen it 4 or 5 times already. Let's go into something brand new. But I still want to see the movie because I like Bayona. I want to see what it's going to look like, and I'm curious how they're going to further the mythology. I just don't want the same attraction ride again.
This is a big buy for me for that exact reason. And I like where you went with that, with dinosaurs rule the earth again. But something like that can't happen in Jurassic World 2. That would be an issue that would come up and possibly be a reality in Jurassic World 3, given what kind of decisions they make with all creatures have rights in these types of campaigns. This is the movie that is probably going to lead to something like that,
so.
I imagine, in Jurassic World 3. And this gives them the opportunity to explore this situation in so many different angles that we haven't really seen since the first Jurassic Park, because the books go so much more into InGen versus Biosyn and those two companies competing and what they want to do with this incredible product that InGen, I believe, has the rights to and nobody else does. So you run into issues here that relate to what happened in Jurassic Park with them trying to steal the dino DNA. You run into issues that were presented in Jurassic World with them trying to militarize. Then you bring in new groups of people who are fighting for the dinosaurs' rights. There's been quotes in the past where they've teased issues of abuse, medical experimentation, pets. Pets is something that comes up in the book as an idea, and naturally I find that very intriguing. But there's just so many cool things you can do with this story where it actually does the exact opposite and doesn't turn it into what we just saw in Jurassic World. And this idea also seems to eliminate the kids. And I don't really want to see the kids come back. Bryce Dallas Howard and Chris Pratt makes sense in this scenario. So I kind of like what this is teasing. Schnepp, what do you think?
I think it's going to be a little bit of both of what you're talking about. I think they were mentioning that this is kind of this is a trilogy and this is the Empire Strikes Back of Jurassic World. So
is that what they said?
Yeah,
okay.
It's going to be dark. It's going to be dark.
Of course.
Do all animals have rights? Is kind of the question, because if these dinosaurs are being bred, and particularly they might be being experimented on that island, but guess what? There's dino burgers being sold, is what I'm guessing. I'm guessing that people who pay the highest price can hunt these kinds of animals, and that they're not just going to be on the island, that they're having experimental labs, just like all you people who eat animals. They're tortured every day. So it's like that's what is going to be happening to dinosaurs right now. And if you're going to cry for that, you should cry for them too. So I think it's going to kind of be a good way of making a really important statement for all animals who are abused on a daily basis. So I kind of like it. So enjoy your dino burger.
Oh, boy.
Right?
Starving.
Wow, that's it. I actually love that kind of idea of big game hunters, like being able to go to the island. What does that do then? Because we see what happens when some dentist posts a picture of shooting a lion, right?
Yeah.
So what happens if you look at what happened when Steven Spielberg imaged next to a Triceratops and everybody thought it was real. That was the most hilarious thing I've ever seen in my life. So now I love that element. If you add that into it and you add Bryce Dallas Howard and Chris Pratt trying to save them because of their experiences, and then Kristian, what happens if somebody take some of the dinosaurs off the island
They
and
have
they
to
escape?
open it up. They have to open it up for the trilogy.
And and this is the middle part.
It's not going to get as deep as how I was talking. I was just like trying to
I know you're
make
saying.
that
But look at the
statement that they're
possibilities.
saying with all these websites.
Right.
They're playing the devil's advocate
I get
to
it.
open that up.
If that's the inciting incident to kind of get people in there, I just don't want people to be trapped again. And like Perry's saying, with the kids getting trapped again, they got to rescue the kids and they got to rescue. It's like just change it a little bit.
I
It's
don't
every
think they'll do
movie.
it. If they do that, dude, I'm 100% with you. I'll be like flipping
Also-
tables angry.
Me too.
Nowadays, given what happened in Jurassic World versus what happened in Jurassic Park and then what happens in 2 and 3, that's not even an option. I don't think you could be, in this day and age, trapped on that island. Like, how many people in Jurassic World must have been, tweeting or shooting cell phone
They got to go back
videos?
to that island, but then they're going to get off that. That island is going to explore outwards, and that'll open up whatever the third one will be.
Not only that, how many people were eaten in Jurassic World?
So many.
How many
that
lawsuits?
girl got eaten for like 3 minutes.
Yeah, how many lawsuits? If you think about it that way too, there's, as you can see on this table now, there are so many story points that I'd like to see that don't involve them getting trapped again and the kids are in peril.
Well,
I totally go. We can't do that. Every movie, the kids are trapped. Right? That's the inciting incident of Jurassic Park 3. We don't need that anymore. So
I
let's
like that
go
idea,
out.
though, because that could open up the door to a really cool viral marketing campaign where you have these URLs and then other URLs fighting for the opposite, which is like all dinosaurs should die because look what they did and they were created
Or
unnaturally.
tasty dino burger.
Or that, yeah. But really, I don't know why we're still talking about this, because all that matters is in Jurassic World 2, Bryce Dallas Howard wears sensible shoes.
Yay!
Natasha, what's our next story?
Okay. Director James Mangold shared a new clip from the upcoming Logan, and it features footage of Laura, aka X-23, that shows a bit of her backstory and the experimentation that led to her becoming a powerful mutant mutant. Set in the near future, Logan follows a world-weary Wolverine as he cares for an ailing Professor X in a hideout on the Mexican border. Little else is known about the film's plot, but that will all change as Logan will soon hit theaters on March 3rd, 2017. Schnepp, buy or sell the new clip from Logan?
I buy it. I saw it last night. Somebody tweeted to me. It was like, Schnepp, you should watch this. And I was like, it was just called Laura.mov. And I was like, huh. Watched it early in the morning yesterday. I think I showed it to John's. Was like, check this out. It was like some weird viral marketing, and we didn't even know if it was real or not. But it was like, that's her, and it was like, it's definitely X-23. So I don't know if this is actually going to be in the movie, as is this 1 minute kind of almost silent scene with, like Perri was mentioning, Slack sounds going on. Our favorite thing. Yeah.
That's because people were messaging me on my
that's what it
computer
was.
while
Okay, I was like,
playing
I
it for
thought you were saying
Kristian.
they included
No,
Slack sounds.
There's no
Forget
Slack
what
in
I said.
Wolverine.
Anyway, I think it's kind of a cool little origin story where you kind of get a little bit of the X-23 origin. I don't know if it's going to be part of the movie. Some of us are going to be seeing it tonight, so we'll let you know what we thought of Logan and X-23 and if this is in there or not. So.
Speaking of which, two of us are seeing it right now, which is
Right.
why they're not here.
Oh, I thought it was
John
virtual
and
reality or something.
John and Jeremy are at their Logan screening, so we will have reviews for you kind of soonish.
Yeah.
The embargo doesn't lift all that far away, so yep, there we go. Just can't help yourselves, can you?
No.
Do I dare ask you what you think of this clip, Kristian?
Nah.
How'd you feel about the Slack sounds? Do they work?
Stupid ass Slack.
It
Look,
works.
I'm going to see the movie tonight, so I think that I'm at the point where it's like I get it. I want to see the movie. Don't show me anymore. It's a cool campaign. It was awesome the way that they set it up, and even Schnepp and I were talking about it. When you first see it, like, what is this creepy stuff? And then you see like, oh, that's really smart the way they do that. Don't show me anything more. I just want to see the thing.
I love this clip. This feels like a horror movie.
Oh, totally.
That's why it spoke to me initially on the first watch, but it's also just a really creative, smart way to promote this movie and promote the fact that it's like, even if you're not into genre like I am, then you still look at this clip and it's like, who is this person? And you see the claws and you just know she connects to Wolverine. This is a great way to market a movie in a scary way, in an interesting way. I mean, when you look at that stuff, this is a perfect example actually of horror not showing and being scarier for that reason. It's like that part where she's laying at the table and it's so pixelated, all you really see is like blood blobs on her arms and legs, but you're looking at that and you're thinking in your mind, like, what did she feel in order to have that happen to her? And just that scream as they're dragging her out, it kind of broke my heart. And I know nothing about X-23, but after this little teeny nothing viral clip, I already feel for her. Reilly, what do you think?
Yeah, I loved this. I think it's a great viral marketing thing. I agree with you, Schnepp. I don't think we're going to see the whole thing. We were talking off air that I think you're going to kind of see it somewhere in their journeys, and you kind of get a little backstory. But just to focus on the video, I love how it sets up X-23, because my favorite part of it is when she's like experimenting with herself and her healing factor.
Yeah.
And it sets up for me that, oh man, she's going to get out and it's going to be bad, and it's going to be a better version than like Morgan. You know what I mean? Where it's like there's something about her, and she gets out, and then
She's got a friend.
but she's got a friend
got a
in
pal.
Wolverine. And that's what's going to be great. She's going to add to this dynamic that we already know. An alien Professor X, which I love, with Wolverine. This looks so fantastic. I then go to there's another report that like they were so afraid to make this type of Logan movie that everybody at 20th Century Fox was like, oh, it's going to be boring. It's going to be boring. I look at that clip and I go, nope, not boring at all. We're going to get character. We're going to get some great action moments. This looks like it's going to be one of the best X-Men movies we've ever seen. So this is a big buy for me.
It's funny how hearing that the people in charge are afraid is now like a positive word to me. If they were super confident and comfortable, I'd be like, oh, I don't need another movie like that.
Yeah.
Afraid is kind of
They're
what
afraid
has
of
me.
Deadpool, yeah.
Well, they were afraid of their development.
Yeah, they were.
No,
For
it's great.
years, 10 years, they were afraid of
They
Deadpool.
were afraid. They had no idea what was going to happen. They're like, oh, yeah, here's $20 million or $30 million to make this movie. Whatever.
I feel like we just wasted it. $700 million later.
Wasn't that great, though? They're afraid. It means they're taking a
Canceled
chance. They're
Gambit.
doing something different. They're getting something out there that we haven't seen. They're not playing it by the book,
Yeah.
which is a lot of the studios going, we're going to play it safe. to not be afraid. And what do you get? You get a cookie cutter movie.
Yeah,
This is different. I love it.
I'm really happy with what they're doing, especially the producers who are in charge of greenlighting Deadpool and then moving forward and like taking a different approach with Logan, still greenlighting an extreme R, but not in a comedy zone, in a mature zone. So I'm looking forward to it.
Take some risks.
Yeah.
Viewers are smarter now, and even if you do bank on a popular idea or a popular title and your movie sucks, people might go see it weekend one, but then they're going to catch on, and you're not going to do well in the long run. So take some risks. Be afraid. I like the sound of that. All right, Natasha, what's our next story?
A new clip from Kong Skull Island has been revealed by Yahoo, and it features the biggest connection to Godzilla thus far. The footage features John Goodman's character Bill Rhonda being grilled by Samuel Jackson's Lieutenant Colonel Packard about the real reason they're all on Skull Island, with Goodman's Rhonda character offering up some details that are the strongest connection to Godzilla thus far. Kong Skull Island stars Tom Hiddleston, Brie Larson, and John C. Reilly, and hits theaters on March 10th, 2017. Perry, buy or sell the new clip from Kong Skull Island?
I'm going to buy it because it's a fine conversation. It's well shot. It's well acted. I mean, John Goodman just gets this face, and I believe anything he's saying to me. But the problem is, I watched this after I watched that Logan clip. And that Logan clip, to me, the viral clip that we don't know if it's going to be in the movie, was so good. And then I got a one-on-one conversation. So I was a little... And also, a lot of outlets ran with the headline, like, oh, the M.U.T.Os are coming and things like that. So I did go into this clip with a certain expectation, which might not be fair. It's just how it happened. But, you know, this is a solid conversation, and it's a necessary conversation, because what they're doing is they're building a cinematic universe. These are the little nuggets you got to be dropping right now to show how it's all going to come together. And more M.U.T.Os, if this is what we're heading towards, I am perfectly fine with it. Reilly, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I like it too. I mean, I buy the clip. It's just a marketing thing to remind you that this is connected to Godzilla.
Right.
We all know that. We're sitting here on the panel knowing that we're building to Kong versus Godzilla. We're going to get Godzilla 2. So great. Here's the connection that you see, and I like it. You know, I just want to see the movie now. I don't necessarily think we need all these reminders. But again, if you have somebody that doesn't know Kong Skull Island is connected to Godzilla, you know, this can maybe go, oh, okay, now I'm going to see it. But I miss the discovery in the theater where you sit there and go, oh, when they mentioned the thing about the thing, that was in Godzilla. Oh, when they mentioned this, oh, that's good. So I miss that. This is just a more sign of that. This is what studios do. And they kind of show their hand a lot with trailers and marketing campaigns.
This is what you get when you have 4 screenwriters on the credits, so we don't know how many writers actually involved. This is what I call exposition alley or explain-o scene, like an extra scene that is giving us a lot of information, and it's good for the audience because this probably happens halfway through the movie, so you're kind of regurgitating everything that everybody's already come there for, and that's why he's like, I'm going to blow your head off unless you tell me something that I need reiterated in a more succinct way, just in case the people watching it went to the bathroom, you know. So it's like, in all the cartoon shows I've did, I would call it explain or exposition alley or whatever. We always had it in the middle of Metalocalypse. There was like, gentlemen, let me tell you the plot of the episode again and re-explain it again. It's just done that way. It's when you think about it, you're like, is it really necessary, especially in movies where it's all visual storytelling is the best way to tell stories? But we haven't seen the movie yet, so having John Goodman, what's he say to Donnie in The Big Lebowski?
You're out of your element,
You're
Donnie.
out of your element, Donnie!
I love it.
Is how I always see John Goodman now. I just couldn't remember that thing, but I love John Goodman. Every time he's in anything, I could listen to him talk about, you could just read the dictionary, and I'd be like, that's an amazing scene of him explaining stuff.
Yeah.
So,
well, you
cool
bring up
with
a good point, too. You look at all the screenwriters on this, it makes me a little hesitant, but every single screenwriter wrote a monster movie.
Yeah, and they're all really good.
You have Max Borenstein, who did Godzilla. You have Jurassic World's Derek Connolly, and then you have Dan Gilroy, who wrote Nightcrawler.
Yeah, that's definitely a monster movie.
That's a monster movie. So these are all great writers, but you put them all together, then it's like you get that exposition. What do you call it?
Exposition alley.
Okay.
How do you feel about this, Christian?
I bought it. I thought it was great to show it now because I'm not going to the movie to oh man, I got spoiled. I wish I would have seen that in the theater. It's like I want to see Kong smashing stuff in the theater. I don't care about exposition. I mean, show me the exposition on screen. If it was like a really detailed plot point that type of movie that I want to see in the theater, then yes, I would be bummed about it. But this is to let us know that we have a shared universe coming along. This is to let people know that if they were really big Godzilla fans and dug everything that happened, there are tie-ins, and down the line you're going to see more. I thought it was really smart for them to show this. I don't think it ruined anything at all.
No,
I bought it.
I'm glad they showed it. I'm waiting to see the movie. I'm with you. I want to see Kong.
You want to see him smashing stuff and eating bananas.
All right, Natasha, you watched this, right? What do you think?
Yes.
Too much explaining here?
No, I absolutely love the dialogue between John Goodman and Samuel L. Jackson. Like, Samuel L. Jackson had this part where he just, like, twitched his eye, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm in already. Yeah, I love John Goodman, love the dialogue, and I can't wait to see Kong Skull Island. It's going to be awesome, so much fun, so let's just watch it already.
Looking forward to it, Wendy?
Yeah, I mean, I like both of these actors, Sam Jackson, John Goodman, both phenomenal, very talented people, but it did feel a little bit like exposition purpose only, like when they threw it out there, like just in case you didn't know, this is a shared universe, and it's like kind of stuck out a little bit for me, but at the end of the day, I still buy the clip, and I'm excited to see the film.
Cool. So we're about to roll into Mailbag, which means your live Twitter questions are coming up later, so send them on over to @ColliderVideo on Twitter. Wendy's going to pick a few, and then we're going to answer them later on in the show. And then don't forget, there's so much good stuff going on Collider Video. Today we have a brand new episode of Jedi Council. If you didn't catch Collider Nightmares yesterday, that is up and running right now. And then there's something going on in Schmodown Land. I have a feeling this guy over here really wants to talk about it.
There is a big title match. You guys know about it. It is the outlaw John Roca going for his title shot against Dangerous Dan Murrell. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm going to show you.
Movie fights, Schmodown. I want every belt. I want to get in shape and fight in the WWE. I want to win all their belts too. I want to have a wall of belts.
Dan Murrell has the belt through this entire run. They've all just been in the way of the belt. And what did I say after Bespin? I was coming back for that belt. That's all I care about. That's all I want.
All right, so that goes up tomorrow, and not only do you get Roca and Murrell, you get McQueenie and Mike Kalinowski in one video. It happens. And I also have a poll up on my Twitter. This is something I need you guys to let me know, because there's a debate here on who the Patriots should play next. It is pinned to my Twitter. Go and choose, because I want to prove a point. Go and vote. Thank you.
Speaking of polls and voting, we also have our March Madness Villain Tournament going on. We had Regina George beat Simon Gruber, and now we're on to a brand new one. We have John Kreese from Karate Kid facing off against Stripe from Gremlins. That poll is up right now. Do we know who's winning so far?
Yeah, so far, John Kreese.
All right.
What? Karate Kid. Sweep the legs.
You kids
You
don't
have
know
a
about
problem with
Stripe?
that?
Beating who? Sorry.
Beating Stripe.
Stripe from
No.
Gremlins.
man.
Fin Fang Foom.
Now, if Stripe is near a pool, I'm going to give it to Stripe. Okay,
It would be a smart decision.
It was
would
a
be.
smart decision.
See what
But
you see what he did to the bat plane in Lego Movie? Come on.
yes, I did. That's right.
He
Okay.
can take down Master Builders. And on top of that, there's also last week's from Friday, the new Awesome Tacular episode. So please check that out. We've got a link in the description section of this episode of Movie Talk. So give that a watch, because it is a lot of fun. All right, it's mailbag time. Natasha, what's our first question?
Freddie Jason writes, "What's up, Collider crew? Blumhouse is currently enjoying huge success with their film Split. Their next film, Get Out, has had screenings at Sundance and holds 100% on Rotten Tomatoes based on 16 reviewers. If the future reviews stick, how well of an opening do you expect for Get Out, considering it has less competition than even Split dealt with? And how worried should fellow horror film Cure for Wellness be, especially as it's getting very poor reviews? Thanks for taking my question, and have a great day."
Is it getting poor reviews? Oh, no. I'm cool with shit rats, not for a Get Out story.
Hey, put those away now.
No, you know what this is? It's not for Get Out. It's that A Cure for Wellness is going to get destroyed.
It's,
Yeah.
Well, it's gonna get
That's what
destroyed,
it.
yeah.
I can't wait to see Get Out.
The reviews for Cure for Wellness are not that bad.
No,
across the board,
but
are
I'm
they?
just
6 or something.
I'm just saying, as far as
all right.
excitement level, when I saw that trailer for Get Out, I was like, "Oh my God, this is an incredible like
Yeah.
Stepford Wives update with like a lot of social issues." And Keanu. I mean, I'm looking forward to this more than Keanu. Let's just say that.
I'm looking forward
What
to-
an appropriate comparison.
And I'm not the horror guy. I'm actually really looking forward to Get Out very much so because I like good thrillers. I like movies that are going to be different, change stuff up, and I actually really am looking forward to seeing Get Out next week.
If you're looking forward to it, I have a feeling your expectations will be met. This is a movie that
Nice.
should make a lot of money. And especially given all the hype that Split created, and Split is on its way out. So everyone, not everyone, but I imagine folks out there are thinking, like, oh, Split was great. Look how well it did. I saw it. I liked it. Like, what's the next big horror thing? So that automatically gives Get Out another little boost. And, Split was in a great position where it went up against Triple X, which, it did okay, but not great. So it wasn't going to take away that much money for it. And then after that, there was no real competition for Split until last weekend when we got Lego Batman, John Wick, 50 Shades. So that movie has had the opportunity to have a super strong run and make a ton of money. Get Out could be in a very similar position because I don't know how well the new releases this weekend are going to do. I think it's going to be a repeat of what we saw last weekend, but Split made a lot of money.
Yeah.
A lot of money.
I think Get Out has that it can make that same kind of money. But like for myself, I love going to see double features. I'm Cure for Wellness followed by Get Out. That's a perfect double feature. I haven't even seen either movie yet, but I think that would work.
I'd be happy to see Get Out make between 20 and 25 million opening weekend and then just have a strong run because normally horror movies tend to have a pretty terrible weekend 1 to 2 drop.
Yeah, I think it's going to do actually really well because of the word of mouth. I'm thinking of Don't Breathe as a comparison more than Split because
good.
Split has the M. Night factor and the big twist and all that kind of stuff. But Don't Breathe caught on with audiences because of word of mouth. And this one is going to have, I think it's going to have no problem, having the #1 spot in its first weekend. But then the next weekend we have Logan. So goodbye. It's going to be out, not #1. However, I feel like it's going to hang in there. Top 5 for a long time. Based on word of mouth alone.
I don't know if you discussed that already, too. If you did, I apologize. But I know you guys had discussed what the #1 horror movie before Split was.
Yeah.
The 3 in a row. It was actually Don't Breathe. It wasn't Conjuring.
Right. That's right.
Conjuring.
Yeah, Don't Breathe. Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, do you guys think that Get Out is going to break 50 million in the first 3 weeks?
I think it has a really good shot.
First 50 in
Absolutely.
the first 3 weeks?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
it
feel that
could
way
open
too.
I think it would open pretty big. It comes up against
Collide.
Collide and Rock Dog. That's
yeah,
some solid competition
I think
there. Not
you're
really.
looking at 25 to maybe even 30 if it has
Yeah.
a great
Right.
because I think that from people that I've known that have seen it already are buzzing about it.
Yeah.
And I think it could do something pretty
It could even have like less than a 30% drop off, which means it makes that 50 in 2 weeks.
It certainly deserves it. I'm hoping it pans out this way. All right, next question, Natasha.
Okay, Delcia writes, greetings from Indonesia. I was wondering if there's a film that at first you think you might not like or don't have any interest in, but it turns out you enjoyed it. Mine is Patterson starring Adam Driver. I saw the trailer and thought it'd be boring, but it is now one of my favorites of 2016. Would love to hear your thoughts. Thanks.
Bridesmaids.
Really?
Yeah, I remember seeing the trailer of Bridesmaids, and I didn't know who Melissa McCarthy was. I didn't know, and I thought it was just going to be complete like shtick, and I was like, this movie is not going to be funny whatsoever, and I was wrong. Paul Feig did such a great job with that movie. Laughed pretty hard at it. So
Actually, I have a good one to piggyback off of that. It was Spy. Also,
yeah.
just because, Melissa McCarthy didn't have the greatest track record at that point, and Spy wasn't just a decent comedy. That was a really good movie. It managed to crack my top 10 that year, and typically that is not my kind of movie. I was so pleasantly surprised by that. What do you got, Schnepp?
I usually don't go seeing a movie that I think is going to suck. I just don't see it. So, but Patterson, I would have to agree. I saw the trailers. I was like, I do not want to see this stupid thing with a bear in the tub, and it looked like an action thing with him like brushing his teeth. It looked like garbage. Then I saw the movie and I almost cried. I was like, I
think
love
you're
the
talking
bear.
about Paddington.
I love
Patterson,
Patterson.
yeah.
Patterson?
Paddington. I'm saying it wrong.
Paddington are
I would
two
love a bear in
completely
Patterson.
different
That would be
movies.
amazing.
So he was talking about Patterson. I don't
Patterson.
know.
No, Patterson.
What is that movie?
Adam Driver.
It's really
Yeah.
good, actually.
I'm not gonna see that
it's
crap.
a good example, though.
I'm not
Patterson
sequel
is
to
a-
Paddington.
I'm not going to
see
Patterson is with Adam Driver.
Let me
and
talk
he's
about
really
Pattinson.
good at
drunk
it.
I
cousin.
want to talk about
Oy.
question guy. Don't try to confuse me. That's
How
right.
are you?
I've got
Get
a
out of
little-
my lawn.
I've got a little bit of my marmalade. Smack.
Right.
Bear.
Hey, I'm Patterson. I'm
Patterson,
Patterson.
then.
I'm Patterson. You got
Yeah.
any honey for my
Hey.
stuff?
Oh,
Hey.
it's Patterson over here. Give me a
Hey,
sandwich.
Louie, what's going on, man? Hey, I got something for you.
It's a bear.
Tony Ravioli, give me some of that Patterson. Oh.
I feel like I'm officially like a certified host now that I've hosted an episode with Shit Rats and Tony Ravioli.
And Petey
and Petey
Peppers.
Peppers.
Petey
Hey, what?
Peppers.
Don't forget about Petey
I
Peppers.
can't
What's
forget about
wrong
Petey
with you?
Hey,
Peppers.
Petey, she forgot about you, but
I
who
know.
doesn't, right?
Hey, you know what? Patterson forgot about me, so I'm hanging out with Paddington.
I want to hear it now. You gotta say the word Hanra.
Hey, you guys
no.
like Hanra?
This
Good. I
guy
like
thought
Hanra.
a bear was in Patterson.
I like
know.
it. Well,
It's
that's a
crazy.
new Hanra. That's what it is.
It is a new Hanra.
Guys.
Okay, here we go.
Guys,
Here we go.
Riley, get us back on track.
I'm back on
please.
track here. I can't believe you guys haven't said
Who are
it.
you?
John Wick, the original John Wick, had no idea
Yeah,
it
it's
was
good.
going to be
Yes.
that good. I saw a paint-by-numbers action movie with Keanu Reeves that I love Keanu Reeves, but he wasn't there for me at least. And I'm like, okay. And then, man, did that surprise the hell out of me. And look at it. We're getting a big franchise
Good
now.
call, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, John Wick was definitely a shock and surprise. That whole
Yeah.
Continental thing. I was like, we were talking about how we could watch a Netflix series just about the continent.
Yeah.
And just how like John Wick came out of nowhere too. It was one of those things where no one had heard a single thing about that movie as it was being made, and they dropped, whatever promo they dropped at first, and everyone's like, whoa, what is this?
Got one more for you, just so that we can move on. Edge of Tomorrow. There's another
Yeah.
one.
Big time.
Edge of Tomorrow.
Big
What is
time.
this? This is going to be Oblivion 2. No thanks.
Let me
And it was
chuck
so
one
good.
more in there because
Good Luck Chuck?
Yeah, I'm gonna. It's called Good Luck Chuck. It's
about dating?
Our
Nope.
favorite. No, it's The Matrix.
Gross.
Keanu Reeves, because you said like that no one was expecting The Matrix, and I remember like, that sounds really cool. I remember reading one article about, they shot this science fiction thing back in Australia. It's
Dark
like,
City or The Matrix?
No, The Matrix. Yeah, no, The Matrix was the one, and I remember seeing it opening night, so I was blown away. Saw it twice.
One more for you guys, just because when the Oscar nominations were being announced, and they announced the animated category, we get to a little movie called My Life as a Zucchini, and the folks in the room with me giggled. I guess it's a funny title. I finally watched it. What a good animated movie.
Wow.
It's like a really unique looking style of stop motion, and it's about kids in an orphanage, and it tackles some really serious dramatic topics, and it does it in like a super bittersweet way where it doesn't lessen the severity of what those characters are going through, but it leaves you kind of hopeful at the end. If you have the opportunity, because I don't know how wide of a release that movie is getting, go check out My Life as a Zucchini.
I think it's because it's a horrible title. That's why we all laugh. We're like, My Life as a Banana. Hey, you want to go see that movie with me? No one wants to see a movie called My Life as a...
You get used to it.
No, I know.
It's
I'm just
because
saying.
the character's nickname is Zucchini, and it makes sense. You'd be surprised how quick you will forget that is a weird title and a weird name to call
I'm
a
going to
kid.
see it because you recommend.
Aw. That's like the nicest thing I think anyone could ever say to a movie reviewer, critic, journalist, whatever.
No, because you're
There you
saying
go.
get over the
Whatever,
stupid title. It's actually a heartfelt, cool animated film. So.
It is. I do recommend it. All right, it's Twitter time. Wendy, what do we got first?
SkySurfer64 writes, if Ghost in the Shell does well in the box office, will Marvel finally let ScarJo get her own Black Widow movie?
I don't think it has anything to do with ScarJo. We know. ScarJo pulled with Lucy.
Yeah, a
I mean,
horrible
it has
film.
nothing
Lucy
to do
can
with
make
her. It's a matter of
$500
whether or not they want to. Marvel is telling stories that they want to be telling right now. If they feel that it's time to tell a Black Widow story, that's when they're going to tell it. It's not a matter of if Ghost in the Shell does well. That has nothing to do with it.
Well, there is something to be said for her leading a movie and continuously hitting it big at the box office, and also with a property like Ghost in the Shell. I mean, that will be a pretty big accomplishment for her because I know there's a lot of Ghost in the Shell fans out there, but when you're looking at the masses who are going to be part of helping that movie break even, if her face can get enough butts and seats to see that movie, that's gonna say a lot for her ability to sell any movie.
Well, Perri, you're talking about that's why she was cast. There was a lot of people who were angry because she got cast
Well,
in a
yeah.
movie that
Yeah,
was
it's true.
against, was the opposite race, a different race. So it's like, well, she's going to get people in seats.
Yeah.
But she's already done it with a movie like Lucy.
Right.
So it's like, that's not even a good film, really, at least in my opinion. And it made $500 million. So she's a bankable global star. And that's, when we talk about that kind of stuff, it's like, that's what it's about. It's about movies are made to make money, not just in America anymore. When they're talking about a $100 million film, they have to be global. So she's got that global reach.
Yeah.
Riley?
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have probably a Black Widow movie way down the line. And they've talked about it a lot, but this Ghost in the Shell has nothing to do with it. Just like what you said, Kristian. They have a plan. They're going to stick to the major Avengers. They've been leading up to Thanos. Here we are with Infinity War. Let's see what happens after Infinity War. I think we absolutely need a Black Widow movie, but Ghost in the Shell is not contingent on that.
And let me just say, if you need a Black Widow movie, get to your comic book store right now. Mark Waid and Samney are rocking a Black Widow comic, which is incredible, and I'd love to see that be adapted into a movie. That's the one they should do right now.
If you want a Black Widow movie, buy the Black Widow comics.
Yeah.
Show them that there's an audience there.
Oh, good point. Go do that.
I want people to go to comic book stores. That's why I said that.
I actually might. Wendy, what do we got next?
Captain Zeno writes, do you think studios will mention a big name actor as much as possible just to create a buzz with no real intention to hire them?
Well, it certainly happens.
Yeah. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. I'm sure many people out there are very guilty of that, which it just makes me sad. I don't like when people lie and manipulate in any situation. I understand it's a business. It's just, in order to move forward in my life and my business, I don't think I'd ever be able to do that. So it is disheartening, but I think the answer is yes.
I'm misunderstanding the question.
Basically, do the studios say, like, if they know that Denzel Washington is never going to be Jon Stewart for Green Lantern, but would they still throw his name out there to get people talking about the property? I think that happens sometimes, but I also think that there's, like, if you look at something like Joaquin Phoenix with Doctor Strange, I think that was seriously a negotiation.
Yes.
And I think that happens. I think sometimes that gets reported on and slipped before it's supposed to, and I do think that there's sometimes that studios slip that type of information out. We sent an email to Tom Cruise to play this when maybe Tom Cruise had no play to actually play it, but then he starts seeing the fan reaction that they want him to do it, and I think that sometimes it's pushed out there to see what the fans are going to react to.
I think that happens much less, because if studios did that, they'd have lawsuits all the time. How dare you use my name to say I never even agreed to do this? There has to be some play involved where they could be like, we're going to leak these 6 names and then see how people react to it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I imagine the way to take the legal issues out would be for someone on the studio front to leak that information to an outlet, and then that outlet reports it, which is why we have the trades.
Right.
I love, my favorite story about this is to actually further negotiations when they said, you know, who's going to play the Joker? It's going to be Robin Williams. And then Jack Nicholson went, huh? And signed on. That was like a marketing thing. Yeah. Not a marketing thing, but a negotiation thing that came out. That's one of my favorite. That's been going on since, 1987. So here we go.
Yeah.
All right. What's up next, Wendy?
Next one comes from Fet Unchained, who writes, Jumanji and Pitch Perfect 3 comes out on the same day, 1 week after Star Wars 8. Oof. Which one of those films will flop?
Flop?
I hope it's not Jumanji, because Jumanji holds a very special place in my heart. I watched that movie way too much growing up as a kid, but I don't know. When you think about how much money is likely going into that one, if I'm going to consider flopping from a financial standpoint, I think that's probably the one that's most at risk.
Well, flop considered by what? I mean, Star Wars is just going to be eating everything for at least 4 to 5 weeks solid. So any of the movies are spill-off. So Pitch Perfect 3 and Jumanji are like, oh, it's sold out. You could see me. And they're going to probably make 30 or 40 million just off the spill-off of not being able to contain all the people who got sold out of seeing The Last Jedi.
Yeah, sorry.
No, I didn't know Jumanji was opening that close to Star Wars. I think Pitch Perfect 3 is safe in the sense that there's an audience that's a different genre, totally different kind of almost audience. I mean, well, Star Wars is 4 quadrant. Everybody's going to go see Star Wars, so you're going to get the runoff and people that really want to see Pitch Perfect. But Jumanji, I didn't know that it was that close. That to me is dangerous, to be that close to Star Wars with that big of a budget, a remake on that as well. But I don't know.
I guess I'm the difficult one today, because I actually think Pitch Perfect out of the 3 of them would suffer the most. Really? But I don't think any of them are going to suffer. But Pitch Perfect, you guys are forgetting about The Rock. I mean, Rock lately has been, everything he's been touching has been gold. And it's the one, like, people that are going to see Star Wars are going to see it that opening weekend. And then families will also want to take their their families to
Right.
see Jumanji, and with The Rock, with Kevin Hart, with the dynamic that we've already seen. Look at this movie. Central Intelligence was not a great movie. Did better than it should have. The Rock has done, box office. He's been adding to it. He adds that kind of gravitas. We'll see what happens with Baywatch. Obviously, look at San Andreas, what he did there. So I think that will be big. And because of when it drops right around Christmas time. Christmas time, you're going to have all these people different. For the people that weren't able to get the tickets for Star Wars, will be seeing Jumanji. Well, I think Pitch Perfect will still do well. I think it's the third movie. The second one was not good. It didn't. And Elizabeth Banks is not directing this one, but I think that it was starting to hit the same jokes. Comedies are hard to do sequels to. The second one, harder to do. Third one is very tough to do, and I think people will be a little bit more skeptical. Although I still think they're all going to do well.
Yeah, I agree, especially because it's happening right during the holidays. People who've already seen The Last Jedi. Some of the family members, I'm going to see Last Jedi again. Other people are going, I'm going to go see Jumanji, then see Last Jedi again. So I think it's a win situation for them.
All right, let's get one last one.
All right, last one comes from Nart Sosoroka, who writes, what makes a movie a cult classic, and how could movies like Clockwork Orange and The Room both be considered cult classics?
If someone out there has the answer to this, they should never tell anybody, and they should keep it to themselves and just use it to make all their own cult classics.
Yeah, play your movie
would
at
have no
midnight.
clue,
That doesn't make it a cult classic. There's hundreds of thousands of movies that are midnight movies that nobody goes to see, and that's because they could only get a midnight screening. And we're in a different world now. Like cult classics that are mentioned, that you mentioned. There's a million other ones that you could mention. The Phantom of the Paradise, Eraserhead. Why those became cult classics is most of them failed at the box office when they came out.
Fight Club.
Yeah, and then we're started the screenings at midnight, where you would get a bunch of people who were like, "Oh, you got to see this movie. It failed, 5-10 years ago, but let's go see that movie." It became a cult classic. That's that terminology. And now there's sort of like, I don't even know how you really determine what is a cult classic. I think it's the ones that rise from the giant pool of the reservoir of streaming movies. Like you could put all of those movies on Amazon and Netflix and Hulu into one giant basin, and things that start to rise to the top, you're like, oh my God, It Follows. There's a list of movies that are available, and a lot of the best horror movies aren't even available. I'm just using horror as an example. They're not available on streaming. You have to either go buy them or rent them. So, it's a mixed bag right now. What can be labeled a current cult movie?
Yeah, and I don't think you could ever qualify it. I don't think anybody knows. I think it just happens on its own, and it's usually like after the release, it maybe doesn't have to bomb, but it doesn't really maybe catch on, and then months later, years later, people are talking about it to where then it becomes a part of the conversation. I think of Edge of Tomorrow, actually. It might not be your cult classic, but it took a life of its own after release to now where everybody was talking about it. I also think of Big Lebowski. It didn't do well, and then now it's one of the greatest comedies of all time. People talk about it. There's the Lebowski Fest, where everybody dresses the dude and goes. That's a cult classic in my mind that you could have never called.
There's also a rewatchability factor in every single cult classic. So if there's something that even like The Room, which is a stupid, horrible film that people make fun of and throw spoons at, or you have a film that you're like, I can't wait to see this because it puts me in a different universe or in a different world. It's that feeling, that essence of re-experiencing something again and again and again. That's what makes a cult classic.
Yeah, that's why I went Fight Club, because Fight Club did not do well in the movie theater whatsoever. Right now, example. Everybody quotes Fight Club. There's so much about that movie. You can't believe that it didn't do well, because it's everything that you're talking about is the rewatchable, quotable, and you can do it with a really great movie, and you can do it with a really crappy movie. And one that I can understand that people say crappy, but I love it very much, and I know you agree, is Flash Gordon. Flash Gordon's another one too.
I agree with you that it's awesome. Me and Kristian love Flash Gordon, the 1980s movies, and we will fight you to the death.
Yeah,
if you
Ellis,
disagree.
stinking Ellis.
All right. On that note, that's all the time we got for you today. Oh, it's over. Before we close out, I want to thank all the guys behind the scenes. We have Dennis, Cody, and our new guy back there, Alex. Thank you so much. And then thank everybody here at the table. Jon Schnepp, where can everyone find you?
Guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram, just at Jon Schnepp. And this week in Long Beach, California, at the Long Beach Comic-Con Expo, I will be there signing my Slayer comics, Metalocalypse Blu-rays, The Death of Superman Lives Blu-rays. So come on by, say hi. I can't remember what booth I'm at. I'll be sweating there for Saturday and full-on sweat on Sunday. Come by Long Beach Comic-Con.
Mark Reilly?
You can find me at Reilly around on Twitter and Instagram, and on Collider Nightmares coming up next Wednesday. We dropped a great episode yesterday. Please check that out. Kara Kusama, what a great director to have on. talked about one of my favorite horror movies, The Invitation. So check that out. We'll see you next week live streaming 1 p.m. PST.
And Kristian.
Jedi Council a little later today. I mentioned the Schmodown's going down tomorrow, and I, again, go to my Twitter and the pinned tweet. Go and vote. I'm very curious to see what you guys say. I want to hear your opinions.
How about you, Natasha?
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at NatashaLexis_.
And Wendy?
You can find me on YouTube at the Movie Couple channel and on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat at Wendy Lee Zaney.
And you guys can catch me on Twitter and Instagram at Perri Nemiroff. Of course, Collider Nightmares every Wednesday. Be sure to watch Collider Behind the Scenes this Saturday at 2 p.m. PST. You do not want to miss it. Thank you guys so much for watching and for letting me lead the charge again. It really is an honor and a pleasure. Have a good Thursday. We'll see you tomorrow morning.
Hey guys, if you like this video, click the thumbs up button. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It'll help you stay up to date with everything we've got going on here at Collider.